I never thought I would find myself in the middle of a story like this, but here I am, sharing my experience. My name is Mark, and I've been married to a woman named Lisa for about 6 years now. We had the kind of relationship that seemed perfect on the outside. We had shared dreams, built a life together, and even faced her struggles with alcohol as a united front. When Lisa entered rehab a few months ago, I was there every step of the way, supporting her through the process. But little did I know that things were about to take a turn for the worse. The first signs of trouble began to appear during family weekend at the treatment center. I noticed Lisa acting strangely, almost overly chatty with her counselor, a guy named Jake, who seemed a bit too familiar with her. At first, I brushed it off as part of her recovery process. She was just getting comfortable, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to bond with the person tasked with helping you get sober? But as the days went by, I couldn't shake off a nagging feeling. There was something off about their interactions. Way she would laugh a little too loudly at his jokes, the way she would lean in a bit too close, it was unsettling. When I got home after that family weekend, I found myself becoming more and more paranoid. I started noticing small things. Lisa was distant. She didn't want to talk about her sessions, and she became defensive if I asked about her day. Then there were her late-night meetings she suddenly had to attend. I tried to tell myself it was just part of her recovery process, but I couldn't quiet the voice in my head. Something was wrong. One night after a long day of work, I was scrolling through my phone while waiting for Lisa to come home. I noticed a notification pop up on her shared calendar. It was labeled Jake 7 p.m. My heart raced. I didn't want to assume the worst, but my gut was screaming at me. I decided to step up my sleuthing game. I checked her social media. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But then I remembered that she often used her phone to text instead of posting online. So I did something I never thought I would. I picked up her phone while she was in the bathroom and opened her messages. My heart sank as I read the texts between her and Jake. They were flirty, filled with inside jokes and emojis that made it clear they were crossing a line. My hands shook as I read one message where she referred to him as my favorite. It was like a punch to the gut. I had trusted her, and here she was, betraying me with the very person who was supposed to help her get better. I couldn't just sit back anymore. I needed to confront her. When she came out of the bathroom, I felt a whirlwind of emotions: anger, betrayal, confusion. I didn't know where to start, but I knew I had to say something. I took a deep breath and asked her if she had been texting Jake. Her reaction was immediate. She laughed it off, claiming it was all harmless and that I was being paranoid. But I wasn't buying it. I laid everything out on the table, showing her the messages I had found. Her face went pale, and for a moment I thought I saw guilt flash across her eyes, but almost instantly she shifted into defense mode. "You're blowing this out of proportion, Mark. He's just a counselor and I'm trying to get better," she yelled. She put up a wall so high that I felt like I was talking to a stranger. Each excuse she offered felt like another stab to my heart, and the anger within me boiled. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Did she really think I would just accept her word and move on? The woman who had promised me honesty was now lying through her teeth. I felt betrayed, not just by her actions but by her complete lack of accountability. I had stood by her through her worst, and this was how she repaid me. The confrontation left us both shaken. After she stormed off to the bedroom, I sat on the couch, feeling hollow inside. It was hard to process what I had just discovered. I felt like my entire world had collapsed in a matter of minutes. I had devoted my life to supporting her, only to learn that all my trust had been misplaced. I spent the night tossing and turning, trying to piece everything together. How could she do this? What else had she lied about? I felt a whirlwind of emotions: anger, sadness, confusion. It was like I was on a roller coaster, and I had no idea when it would stop. This was just the beginning of the emotional journey I was about to embark on, and I knew it wouldn't be easy. The reality of the situation was slowly sinking in, and I realized that I had to make some tough decisions going forward. I needed clarity, and I needed to figure out how to navigate this new reality. After that explosive confrontation, I spent the next few days in a haze of confusion and anger. Lisa and I barely spoke. It was like we were living in the same house but were worlds apart. I went through the motions of daily life, but my heart was heavy, and I felt a constant pit in my stomach. I tried to focus on my work, but every time I sat at my desk, my mind drifted back to those text messages and the betrayal behind them. I was engulfed in a storm of emotions, anger, hurt, and a profound sense of loss. How could they? Woman I loved, the woman I supported through her darkest moments, betray me so completely. I tried to think about what I could do next, how to approach this situation beyond the initial confrontation. I knew I needed to protect myself, but I also had to confront her again. I couldn't let this linger without addressing it head-on. One evening, I found the courage to sit down with her again. I walked into the living room and found her on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She looked up as I entered, and I saw a flicker of guilt in her eyes, but she quickly masked it with indifference. "What do you want, Mark?" she snapped, her tone sharp and defensive. I took a deep breath, trying to maintain my composure. "We need to talk about what happened," I said, keeping my voice steady. "What you did with Jake, it isn't just some harmless text. You crossed a line, Lisa. You're supposed to be in recovery, and instead you're engaging in this affair with your counselor. You're lying to me." Her expression hardened, and I could see her gearing up for another round of excuses. "You're making this a bigger deal than it is. You don't understand how hard it is for me right now," she shouted. "I'm just trying to find someone I can talk to who understands me." I felt my anger boil over. "Understand you? Lisa, he's your counselor. You're supposed to be working on your issues, not getting involved with him. You're using him to escape your reality, and I refuse to be your safety net while you do it." The moment the words left my mouth, I felt the weight of truth behind them. I was not just her husband. I was her partner, supporting her through a very difficult time. She rolled her eyes and tossed her phone onto the coffee table. "You don't know what you're talking about. You think you're so much better than me, sitting there judging me because I'm struggling. I'm fighting my demons every day, and you're making it worse." Tears began to well up in her eyes, but I didn't feel sympathy. I was too caught up in my own feelings of betrayal to see hers clearly. "No, Lisa," I replied firmly. "I've been nothing but supportive. I've stood by you through your worst moments, and I won't enable this double life you've created. You need to be honest with yourself and with me. I can't help you if you're hiding things." She fell silent, and for a moment I thought I might have struck a chord, but then she shook her head and the resistance returned. "You don't understand recovery. You think it's just black and white, but it's not. I need support, and if that means talking to Jake, then so be it." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This wasn't just about her recovery anymore. It was about her refusal to take responsibility for her actions. "You're choosing him over us, Lisa," I said, the betrayal slicing through me again. "You're putting your needs above our marriage, and that's not what a partnership is about." The silence that followed was deafening. I could feel the tension in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. I wanted to scream, to cry, to throw things, but instead I took a deep breath and tried to collect my thoughts. This was my life, my marriage, and I had to make a decision. I decided right then and there that I wouldn't allow this to continue. I needed to set boundaries for myself. "I can't keep living like this, Lisa. If you're not going to be honest with me and address your behavior, then we have a serious problem. I love you, but I won't be in a relationship built on lies." She opened her mouth as if to protest, but I held up my hand. "No more excuses, no more lies. If you want to work on this marriage, you need to cut ties with Jake and focus on your recovery without involving him. I'm willing to help you, but it has to start with honesty. If you can't do that, then I don't know how much longer I can stay in this marriage." The look on her face was a mix of shock and anger. "You can't be serious. You'd leave me over this." Her voice trembled, but I couldn't give in to her emotional manipulation. I was done being the one who always had to compromise. "I don't want to leave you, Lisa, but I won't watch you throw our life away for a cheap thrill. It's time to choose what matters." The confrontation ended there, with both of us retreating to our corners. As I lay in bed that night, I couldn't stop replaying everything in my mind. I felt a mixture of anger, heartbreak, and determination. I had to be strong, not just for myself, but for the future I had envisioned for us. I needed to give Lisa the chance to choose wisely, but I also needed to prepare myself for the possibility that she might not. The days that followed felt like a blur. Lisa and I were stuck in a strange limbo, navigating a tense coexistence under the same roof. We barely spoke, and when we did, it was often just to argue about the same issues over and over again. It was exhausting. I had laid down the gauntlet and she seemed unwilling to pick it up. I was ready for change, but she was still entrenched in her denial. I spent a lot of time alone, processing everything that had happened. I sought counsel from a close friend, Tom, who had been through his own relationship struggles. He listened as I poured out my heart, recounting the events and my feelings of betrayal. Tom had always been a realist, and as he listened, he provided me with a perspective I hadn't considered. Mark, you deserve to have someone who is fully committed to your relationship, especially when you've been there for her through thick and thin, he said, leaning back in his chair, a serious look on his face. You can't keep trying to carry both of you. It's not fair to you, and it's not fair to her. His words resonated with me. I had been so focused on supporting Lisa that I had neglected my own needs. It was as if I had forgotten that I was allowed to advocate for myself. I realized I needed to prioritize my well-being. That evening, I decided to write down my thoughts in a journal. It became a cathartic exercise, laying bare my emotions and helping me sort through the chaos in my mind. A few days later, Lisa finally approached me again. She walked into the living room, her expression more serious than I'd seen in a while. "Can we talk?" she asked softly, her voice lacking the usual defensiveness. I could sense a shift, but I was anxious. Was this just another empty promise, or was she ready to confront her issues? I nodded and we sat down across from each other. "I've been thinking a lot about everything," she began, her hands fidgeting in her lap. "I see that I really messed up. I didn't mean for things to spiral out of control." It was a start. I remained guarded, bracing myself for her next words. "I realized that I let my emotional connection with Jake go too far. I thought I was just venting and being honest with him about my struggles, but I crossed a line. I'm sorry." I didn't respond immediately. I wanted to see if she would take complete accountability for her actions. "Lisa, I appreciate you saying that, but it's not just about crossing a line. It's about the lies and the choices you made that hurt me deeply. We can't just brush that aside." She nodded, her eyes glistening with tears. "I know. I didn't want to admit I was wrong, and I thought that confiding in him was safe. I didn't want to burden you, but I see now that it was a mistake and I should have been honest with you." I took a deep breath, feeling a mix of hope and skepticism. "So what are you planning to do now?" I asked, wanting to understand where her head was at. "I want to end things with Jake for good," she said. "I want to focus on my recovery and on us. I need to prove to you that I'm serious about making things right." Her words sounded promising, but I couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. "It's going to take time for me to believe that, Lisa," I replied, trying to remain firm yet open. "You have to earn that trust back." She looked at me, her face pleading. "I will. I'll go back to group therapy and I'll be open and honest about my feelings. I want to get better for both of us." The conversation left me feeling torn. I wanted to believe her, but I also knew that actions speak louder than words. The next day, I decided to take a step towards healing for myself. I called the treatment center where Lisa had been staying and asked to speak with her counselor, Jake. I felt it was necessary to address the situation directly, to understand what had transpired between them. I was nervous as I stepped into the center. The place was filled with memories of Lisa's struggle and the hope that had once filled the air. When I finally met with Jake, I was surprised at how calm he was. He was professional, but I could sense an underlying tension. I wasted no time getting to the point. "I want to know what happened between you and Lisa," I said, my voice steady. "I need to understand your role in all of this." Jake looked at me, his expression serious. "Mark, I care about Lisa's recovery. I never intended for things to go too far. I was just trying to support her, but I recognize it crossed a line. I regret that." "Did you ever think about how this would affect her marriage?" I pressed, my frustration boiling over. "You should have known better than to get involved with a client." He nodded, his demeanor sincere. "I take full responsibility. I never meant to hurt either of you. I will step away completely. I've already informed the center about transitioning her to another counselor. As Jake spoke, I felt a mix of anger and relief. He may have been remorseful, but the damage was done. I left the center feeling even more conflicted. Lisa still had to make substantial changes if our marriage was going to survive. I couldn't be her safety net anymore. I had to prioritize my own healing as well. Once home, I shared my conversation with Lisa. She listened intently, her face a mixture of shame and relief. "I appreciate you doing that, Mark. I needed to hear it," she said quietly. But I knew this wasn't just her journey, it was mine too. I had to step back and give myself room to breathe. I needed to focus on my own healing while allowing her the space to prove she was serious about her commitment to recovery and to our marriage. It was a delicate balance, but I was determined to find it. As the weeks went by, I found myself in a delicate dance with Lisa. I was cautiously hopeful, yet still carrying a heavy weight of doubt. She had taken steps to end her relationship with Jake and recommitted herself to her recovery. I had even noticed a change in her demeanor. She was more engaged, more open, and most importantly, more willing to confront her struggles head-on. But the scars of betrayal still lingered, and every step forward felt shadowed by the past. It was a Saturday afternoon when I returned home from running some errands. The sun was shining, and despite everything, I felt a flicker of optimism. As I walked through the door, I noticed the living room was unusually quiet. Lisa usually had music playing or was watching TV, but today it was eerily still. I called out her name, and when I didn't get a response, a wave of unease washed over me. Then I heard it, the sound of muffled voices coming from the kitchen. My heart raced. I approached cautiously, my mind racing with possibilities. Had she started seeing Jake again? Was she hiding something else? I pushed the kitchen door open gently and stepped inside. What I saw left me momentarily stunned. Lisa was sitting across the table from her sister, Sarah, who was holding a glass of wine. They were laughing. And for a moment it felt like everything was normal. But then I saw the bottle of wine on the counter, and the reality of the situation hit me like a freight train. "Hey, Mark," Lisa exclaimed, her voice a mix of surprise and excitement. "I didn't know you'd be home so soon." I felt my mouth go dry as I processed the sight before me. "What's going on here?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "I thought you were done with drinking, especially with everything that's happened." Lisa's face fell, and I could see the panic in her eyes. "It's just a glass, Mark. Sarah brought it over, and I thought it would be okay just this once." She glanced at her sister for support, but Sarah looked equally uncomfortable. I felt a surge of anger rise within me. "Just this once," I repeated, disbelief etched across my face. "You're in recovery. You promised me you wouldn't put yourself in situations where you'd be tempted." Sarah interjected, "Hey, it's not like we're getting trashed here. We were just having a little fun. It's a celebration of her progress." Celebration. I shot back. "You think drinking alcohol is an appropriate way to celebrate progress in recovery? This isn't just some milestone, it's about your health, Lisa." Lisa stood up, her frustration evident. "You're overreacting, Mark. I'm not in danger. It's just one glass and I can handle it." "But you said you wanted to be honest with me." I felt the walls closing in around me, and my voice raised unintentionally. "This isn't about controlling you, it's about protecting you from your own impulses." Lisa crossed her arms defiantly, her expression hardening. "You're treating me like I'm still a powerless addict. I'm better than that, and I need to start living my life again." "Living your life shouldn't involve jeopardizing your sobriety," I shot back, incredulous. "You're not living your life, you're inviting chaos back into it." The confrontation escalated quickly, and Sarah decided it was best to leave. "Maybe I should go," she said, sensing the tension. "I didn't mean to put pressure on you, Lisa. I just thought." "Just thought what?" I interrupted, my frustration boiling over. "That this would be a good idea, that it's okay to celebrate with a drink when we've just been through hell." Lisa turned to Sarah, pleading with her eyes. "Please stay. I can handle this," she said, her voice breaking slightly. Sarah hesitated, but I could tell she was concerned for her sister. "I just don't want you to get hurt, Lisa," she finally said, looking between us. "I'll be right outside if you need me." Once Sarah left, the tension thickened in the air between Lisa and me. "You're supposed to be supporting me," she exclaimed, her voice rising again. "Instead, you're treating me like a child." I'm trying to protect you, I shouted back. You're the one who made these promises to yourself and to me, and you're breaking them right in front of my eyes, Lisa. In that moment, I realized that this wasn't just about the alcohol. It was about control, vulnerability, and trust. I was terrified that she was slipping back into her old habits, and it felt like she was testing the boundaries I had set for both of us. I can't believe you're doing this, I said, my voice quieter now, the anger dissipating into a deep sadness. I can't keep watching you throw everything away. Lisa sat back down, her shoulders slumping. I'm sorry, Mark. I just wanted a moment of normalcy. I thought I could handle it. I didn't want you to feel like you were losing me again. It was painful to see her so defeated. I wanted to comfort her, to tell her it would be okay, but I couldn't dismiss the seriousness of the situation. This isn't normal, Lisa. You have to understand that. Recovery isn't just about quitting drinking, it's about addressing the root causes of why you turned to it in the first place. She nodded slowly, tears streaming down her cheeks. I know. I thought I could be different, but I'm scared of falling again. I just wanted to feel normal. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. I get that, but you need to stay strong, Lisa. If you find yourself at a point where you're tempted, you have to reach out to me or your support group. You can't navigate this alone. I promise I'll do better, she said, her voice trembling. I don't want to lose you. As I looked into her eyes, I could see the sincerity and fear mingling together. I wanted to believe her, but I also knew that it would take more than just promises to heal the fractures in our relationship. It would take time, effort, and unwavering honesty from both of us. Let's take this one day at a time, I replied, trying to soften the moment. But it starts with trust. You can't have a glass of wine without consulting me, and I need you to keep that promise. She nodded, wiping her tears away, a sense of determination dawning on her face. I'll do it. I want to fight for us. As we sat together in silence, I realized it was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. We weren't out of the woods yet, but at least we were both willing to confront the reality we faced. We had to fight for our relationship, and that fight would require a collective effort. I knew this journey wasn't going to be easy, but I was committed to navigating it together, one careful step at a time. As the weeks turned into months, Lisa and I found ourselves in a new rhythm. It wasn't perfect, but it was a fresh start. We established boundaries that both of us agreed upon, and Lisa began attending group therapy sessions regularly. I tried to be supportive, reminding her of the commitment she made to herself and to us. It was a constant balancing act between offering encouragement and holding her accountable, but I felt a flicker of hope growing inside me. One evening, after Lisa returned from therapy, she seemed remarkably upbeat. You won't believe what we talked about today, she said, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. We discussed the importance of honest communication in relationships, and I finally see how vital it is for both of us. I smiled, relieved to see her genuinely engaged in her recovery. That's great to hear, Lisa. I've always believed that communication is key. She leaned in closer, looking excited. We even did role-playing exercises in therapy, where we had to practice difficult conversations. I feel like I'm learning so much about myself, and I'm eager to apply it to our relationship. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a glimpse of the woman I had fallen in love with shining through. We spent the evening talking, opening up about our feelings, and even laughing together. It felt like old times, and I embraced the moment, hoping it was a sign of the healing we desperately needed. However, as we moved forward, I remained acutely aware of the fragility of our situation. I knew a single misstep could send us spiraling back into the chaos we had just begun to escape. I chose to remain vigilant, remembering the pain of betrayal that still lingered in my heart. Then came the day I received an unexpected phone call. I was at work, focusing on a report, when my phone buzzed with a text from Lisa. Can we talk when you get home? I have something important to share. My stomach dropped as anxiety washed over me. Was this about Jake? Had she slipped back into old habits? The possibilities raced through my mind, each one darker than the last. When I returned home, I found Lisa sitting at the dining table, her expression serious. The cheerful demeanor she had shown earlier was gone. Hey, Mark. "I'm glad you're home," she said, her voice shaking a little. "I need to tell you something." I braced myself, unsure of what to expect. "What is it, Lisa?" She took a deep breath, her eyes welling up with tears. "I've been struggling with my feelings. I thought I was doing better, but I've been feeling so overwhelmed with everything. I didn't want you to worry, but I think I need to change counselors again. I'm not sure if Jake was the right fit after all." My heart sank with the weight of her words. "Why do you feel that way?" I asked, trying to maintain a sense of calm even as my mind raced. "What's going on?" "I feel like I've been trying to please everyone, my parents, the group, and you," she admitted. "But I haven't been true to myself. I'm scared that I'm not really ready to face everything just yet. I thought I was healing, but I'm still carrying so much that I haven't addressed. I don't want to fall back into the same patterns, and I want to be honest with you." Her vulnerability struck me like a bolt of lightning. I could see the fear etched on her face, and while my initial reaction was to panic, I also felt a surge of empathy. This was a pivotal moment for her, and I needed to support her through it, not just as her husband, but as her partner in recovery. "I appreciate your honesty, Lisa," I said softly, reaching across the table to hold her hand. "It's okay to acknowledge that you're still struggling. This journey isn't linear, it has its ups and downs. What matters is that you're willing to confront it instead of hiding it." She nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'm just scared, Mark. I don't want to let you down again. I don't want to ruin everything we've worked for." I squeezed her hand gently. "You're not letting me down. I'm here for you, and I will support you no matter what. If you feel a change in counseling is necessary, then we'll figure it out together." We spent the next hour discussing her options, exploring various treatment centers and counselors she could connect with. It was a long conversation filled with vulnerability and honesty. As we spoke, I felt a renewed sense of hope. Lisa was willing to confront her struggles head-on, and that was a critical step toward healing. The following week, Lisa attended her first session with a new counselor, and while I felt apprehensive, I also recognized the importance of this step. I made it clear that I would be there to support her, but ultimately, she needed to take ownership of her recovery journey. As her new counseling sessions progressed, Lisa began to show signs of real growth. She started sharing more openly about her feelings and fears. We implemented a routine check-in process where we would sit down at the end of each week to reflect on her progress. I encouraged her to be honest about her struggles, no matter how difficult. However, amidst this journey of healing, I faced my own battles. I realized I had built walls around my heart as a way to protect myself from further hurt. While I was proud of Lisa's progress, I also needed to address my feelings of betrayal and fear of being hurt again. It became clear that my healing was just as necessary as hers. One night, during one of our check-ins, I decided to lay bare my feelings. "Lisa, I want to talk about my own struggles through all of this," I began, my voice steady but tentative. "I've been trying to be strong for you, but I also feel like I've been holding back my emotions. I still feel hurt, and sometimes I'm scared that I'll lose you again." Her eyes softened as she listened, and she reached for my hand. "Mark, I'm so sorry for everything. I never meant to hurt you, and I understand how this has affected you. I want to work on rebuilding that trust." As we talked, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. This was the kind of communication we had both needed, and I realized that by opening up, I was taking a significant step toward my own healing. It wasn't just about Lisa's journey, it was about us, both of us, finding a way to move forward together. We both knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but that night, we found solace in each other's vulnerability and commitment to healing. It was a reminder that relationships require ongoing effort, honesty, and the willingness to face challenges together. As we embraced, I felt a renewed sense of hope. We were learning to navigate the complexities of our journey, and despite the scars of our past, we were ready to forge a future together, one step at a time. As Lisa and I continued our journey of healing, I found myself more committed than ever to rebuilding what had been fractured between us. It felt like we were learning to walk again after a long period of being knocked down. Each step was tentative, but with every small victory, we gained confidence. We were learning to communicate without fear of judgment, and it was both exhilarating and terrifying. With each passing week, Lisa's dedication to her recovery shone brighter. She was proactive about her therapy, attending sessions regularly and even involving me when appropriate. She would share insights from her discussions with her new counselor, and I began to see glimpses of the woman I fell in love with, strong, resilient, and determined to confront her demons. However, the emotional scars from her betrayal lingered within me. I often found myself replaying those moments when I discovered her texts with Jake, feeling the hurt swell up at the most unexpected times. I knew that if I didn't address these feelings, they could undermine the trust we were working so hard to rebuild. A month into Lisa's new counseling regimen, I decided it was time to address my feelings directly. One evening, after a particularly emotional session where Lisa had opened up about her past, I took a deep breath and broached the subject. "Lisa, I want to talk about something that's been weighing on me," I said, my voice steady but tinged with apprehension. "What is it?" she replied, looking concerned. "I'm proud of the progress you're making, but I need you to know that I still struggle with the pain your actions caused me. I want to be open about it, but the memory of your betrayal sometimes feels overwhelming." Tears welled up in her eyes and she reached for my hand. "I understand, Mark. It pains me to think about the hurt I caused you. I want you to know that I'm not just sorry, I'm committed to making things right. I never want to go back to that place where I was lying and hiding things." "I know you're committed," I replied, squeezing her hand. "But it's hard for me to forget. I want to move forward, and sometimes I need reassurance that I'm not going to get blindsided again." Lisa nodded, taking in my words. "Let's create a plan for that then. I want to be transparent with you. I'll share my therapy notes with you when I feel comfortable. We can have weekly check-ins where we focus on both of us, me sharing my struggles and you sharing yours." Her suggestion was met with a wave of relief. "That sounds good, Lisa. I think it will help us both feel more secure in what we're building together." Over the next few weeks, we implemented our new routine. We would sit down every Sunday evening, each of us taking turns sharing our feelings and any challenges we faced. The honesty between us began to foster a deeper connection, one that felt rooted in mutual understanding rather than fear. However, we still faced challenges. One evening, Lisa returned from therapy visibly upset. "I had a rough session today," she admitted, her voice trembling. "We talked about my past and how I used alcohol to escape various pressures. I'm realizing that I have to confront the shame and guilt I've been carrying for years." I listened intently, feeling a mix of empathy and concern. "It's okay to feel that way, Lisa. You're working through a lot and it's okay to have those feelings surface. I'm here for you." She looked up at me, her eyes filled with gratitude. "I know I've put you through so much, and I can't express how thankful I am for your support. I wish I could take back the pain I caused you. That's the past, and while it's still painful, I'm more focused on what we can do now," I replied, encouraging her to lean into her feelings rather than run from them. "Just remember, healing is a process." As our relationship progressed, I began to notice changes not just in Lisa but in myself as well. I was learning to let go of the resentment and focus on the present. We spent more quality time together, going on hikes and cooking meals, creating new memories that slowly began to overshadow the darker times. A few months later, on a quiet Saturday morning, I woke up to the sound of Lisa humming softly. In the kitchen, I rolled over in bed, still feeling the remnants of sleep tugging at my eyelids. Curiosity piqued, I slipped out of bed and wandered into the kitchen. There she was, standing at the stove, flipping pancakes with a smile on her face. The aroma wafting through the air was comfortingly familiar, and for a moment the weight of the past felt lighter. "Good morning, sunshine," she called out, her cheerful tone brightening the room. "Good morning," I replied, feeling a wave of warmth wash over me. "What's the occasion?" "I thought we could have a special breakfast together, a little celebration of how far we've come," she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I watched her and a surge of gratitude filled my heart. The woman in front of me was trying, really trying to make amends and build something new. "I love it," I said, moving closer. "Thank you for making this." As we sat down to eat, I took a moment to reflect on the journey we had taken together. I thought about the struggles, the pain, and the moments of doubt. but I also thought about the resilience we had shown and the progress we had made as a couple. Each shared meal, each honest conversation was a step toward healing. Mark, I know I've said this before, but I'm so grateful for your support, Lisa said, breaking the comfortable silence. I wouldn't be where I am today without you standing by me. I smiled, feeling a sense of pride. And I wouldn't be here without you deciding to fight for yourself and for us. It's a two-way street, Lisa. We're in this together. The conversation flowed naturally, and as we laughed and reminisced, I could see the cracks in our relationship slowly being filled with love and understanding. I realized that while the past would always be part of our story, it didn't have to define our future. It was a chapter of growth, and together we were writing a new narrative. As I looked at her, I felt a sense of peace and hope. We had made it through the storm, and while challenges would surely arise again, I was confident that we could face them together. Love, after all, is a journey of resilience, trust, and unwavering commitment. And as we sat there, surrounded by the warm glow of the morning sun, I knew that we were ready to embrace whatever came next together.